Recording in Good morning. Does everybody always get on at the last minute? Because there's only a few people.
It is odd with the number of people, but the link I think they sent out was broken this morning too, so could be why.
Oh. So there'll be people on the Facebook page looking for everybody. I'll
Yep.
hopefully we get some more people. How's everybody doing? Happy Monday.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Lauren.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How was Vermont?
Vermont was amazing. It is so
Wow.
beautiful in Vermont.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my gosh. I just went to Sugarbush for my Project U, and the mountains and the streams, just as you're taking the ride, I took like the 4-hour road from Massachusetts. It just was amazing to sit and just to enjoy it, enjoy the beauty.
So true. That is such a beautiful drive. It really is.
It is. You know, we are so blessed to be in New England.
Yes,
Every
we are.
state has its unique, beautiful qualities, and I love all of them. So I actually need to explore Rhode Island more. So those of you from Rhode Island will have to fill me in on like where to go, what's worth going to see, because I have not given Rhode Island as much attention as it deserves. So that'll be on my bucket list for sure. Like in a year, within the year, I need to see Rhode Island more. This summer, I tend to see beaches more often than I have in the last 2 years. Did anyone else miss the beach last summer?
Oh yeah, big time. Big time.
Missing my ocean. So I think I went once. I took the kids up to Hampton. No, is that right? Yeah, I think just once. Oh, yeah, that cannot happen again. I see people coming on. 9:01, we're getting there. It's Monday. People are just starting to wake up a little bit, right? Yeah, got the coffee. All right, so we will get started. Can you believe that you guys are finishing up? That you are done this week? I would love to hear how you're feeling right now after, almost a month of being in Ignite. So everybody unmute and give me some ahas. How you feeling? You're almost done with Ignite. What have you learned so far? Tell me some ahas.
I think it's been a really, really good experience. I do think that 3 hours every day for the whole week has been kind of really exhausting, to be quite honest. But so many good takeaways, and now you just want to go and apply some of that stuff. I just feel like it's, I don't know, almost like kind of like a little bit burnt out. So, but this week coming in, it's like, it is the last week, so the light is at the end. That's
awesome. No, and I appreciate your honesty on that, and I agree with you that I think that it is long, and I think that we need to all be sure that as educators that we're giving you guys the break, but also you're actually doing the activities like, and I don't know because I'm not in every class, but are you making phone calls in every class? Right? Because that is a huge piece of it, the doing part. And so making sure you guys will be doing that today, I think, somewhere in my curriculum, I believe it happens. But thank you for that feedback. And I'm glad that you're getting some value out of it, Melissa. Who else? What else have you learned over the last few weeks?
More confidence.
More confidence. I love that. What else? You guys ready to get out there and start selling?
Yeah.
All right. I love that. So for today, that is what we're going to be talking about is you have worked so hard to do your buyer consultation, to do your listing consultation. And now we're going to talk about make and receive offers today. Are you guys ready? All right. Does everybody have their participant guide? No. All right. So, yes. Okay. Sorry. Somebody direct message me. All right. Let me get, I think that Nina was going to be on. Nina, are you on? I'm supposed to have somebody from an art.
Yeah.
You are? Awesome. Are you in the car?
I am.
Are you going to be?
I am. I'll be on. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to give you guys, they're looking for the participant guide. So I will just share that. Let's see. Get link. Copy link. All right, guys, in the chat, I'm going to put the participant guide for today. There you go. So everybody grab that. Everybody got it? We're starting to get it. All right, so one of the things, and this is on us too, is to make sure you guys have this before we get started, so that way you are raring to go. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see, and you can see everything that I have in my, nope, there we go. This one. All right, can you guys see that? Right, see me flipping through everything? All right, so let's do this. All right, here we go. Everybody ready? So I'm going to unshare for 1 second. I have to tell you guys, it's Monday for me too. So I need you guys to unmute and talk and show your faces, because I only see 5 of you. I cannot see hand raising. And with Nina in the car, she's probably not going to get to check the chat until she gets to a computer. So you guys are going to have to talk to me. Is that a deal?
Yes.
All right. So if so, I want you to go do this. You guys ready? I want you to unmute and go, oh yeah. Ready? 1,
Oh yeah.
2, 3. Love it.
Oh
Ready?
yeah.
1,
Oh,
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Come on.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
All right.
Oh,
You
yeah.
ready now?
Oh yeah.
All right. That's better. So I need some energy. I'm going to give you tons of it. You got to give it on back to me. Is that sound fair? All right. So we are going to talk about making and receiving offers. Who's ready to write an offer?
Oh, yeah, I want to do it.
Okay. Yeah, it's the best feeling. So there's some stuff to do before we get there, right? Which is, first of all, talking about what we do every day. And we talked a lot about growing your business, right? This left side here. But now we're going to talk about running your business, which is showing the buyer houses and negotiating contracts, right? So the offer process. Does it sound big and scary when you guys think about it? Like, oh my God, how do I write an offer? What am I going to do? Right. So especially because we are in, 5 different states, we are not going to get into specifics about the contracts. What we're going to do is talk about the process today, right? What does it look like? And it's the same for all of us, pretty much, no matter where you are. Massachusetts is a 2 contract state. Most other states are a 1 contract state. That's really the only difference. But the process itself is the same. Would you agree with that? So tell me some of your fears about writing offers. Any fears?
Getting
Where
them
do you
accepted
start?
these days.
So Nick said, where do you start? Adrian, what were you saying?
They're saying getting them accepted. I got a buyer I'm working with. Keeps there's 20 offers every house he puts on.
Yeah, getting them accepted in this market, that is a big deal. What else? Any other fears?
This is not a fear, but I've seen a number of listings saying seller seller needs to find suitable housing. So it leaves a wide open gap. How is a lender going to handle that and, lock somebody in for a length of time? So I've seen that on a number of listings lately.
That is a great point. So I love all of these things, is where to get started, how to get them accepted, and what does it mean when it says subject to suitable housing. So I'm going to just tackle that one right now. We're going to talk about the others as we go through the day, but that's a real thing, right? Because one of the reasons that we have this low inventory is because sellers are nervous. Like, where am I going? There's nothing on the market. So one of the strategies as a listing agent is to say, look, we're not going to let you be homeless. We're going to put subject to finding suitable housing. But as a buyer, does that feel a little scary because it's open-ended, like Tom said, right? Like, well, what does that all mean? And so first, asking the listing agent, and we're going to talk a lot about that communication today, but asking them, have they located something? Because sometimes they've been looking, but they can't make any offers until they get their house accepted, right? And under agreement. So it's such a, catch-22 for so many of these people. So
ask if we can put a Winnebago in the yard till closing.
Yeah, can we do something? People are getting super creative, but that subject to sellers finding suitable housing is really just a comfort thing for the seller most of the time, right? Like, they've located some things, they know what they're looking for, and we're close.
Yeah, I have a client that does in Connecticut. Well, he said it is a number of states, but he's my client in Connecticut. He has hotels that are extended stays, and he's at like 110% occupancy because of people selling houses and needing a suite for a month, too. And, and it's been a savior for a number of real estate transactions. So I just want to, remind people that it's not the best suitable housing, but it could make a deal happen.
Absolutely. I love that. And that absolutely, I have a client who's in that right now, same thing. So it's a great alternative to helping people have that backup plan. So when people list their house, we always want to have the conversation. What's your plan if this house sells tomorrow? Right? Because it'll take, possibly 30 to 60 days.
Yeah.
Where are you going? And
then
that's,
also, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. Go ahead.
I've also seen, other things where, clients said, when it sells, I'll look for a rent in the meantime and then take my time. But rents are at a shortage also. And then, most people that live in homes, have a good amount of them have pets, and a lot of apartments do not, are not pet tolerant.
Yes, that is all true. And that is where those extended stays, a lot of them do take pets. So those are definitely options for people. So
Sure.
Absolutely, the suitable housing thing is something to think about. And when you're writing an offer on that, you definitely want to be having a conversation with the listing agent to find out what the seller's, plan, goal is. And always putting a time frame on it, right? Subject to seller finding suitable housing within 60 days, right? Within 30 days, by X, whatever. So that way there's an end game. And if you're in an attorney state, attorneys are awesome, even if you're not in an attorney state, to ask them, like, what's the best language to protect my client? Does that make sense? All right. So let's jump in if you're ready for the offer process. So let's see, can you guys all see that? It's hard when I have to move you all around. But so the offer process, right? The first step is that the buyer is going to write the offer. They're going to make an offer. The seller gets super excited. The buyer gets super excited. I want you to remember, this can be a loop, right? We can go around and around on this loop a little bit. So what do you think that the buyers and sellers have for emotions at this stage? Are they excited?
I guess they would be like excited, but nervous, anxious. Like, as soon as someone puts an offer in, I'm sure they're like, all right, what's the answer? I want to know now. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, there's anxiety, there's stress, there's excitement, right? There's a, oh my gosh, this is really happening. It's one of the biggest life-changing events, right? You know, they talk about like the 5 stressors in life, you know, when somebody gets married, when somebody buys a house, when somebody is got someone who's sick, like there's a bunch of life stressors, and this is a big one. So emotions might be running a little bit high. This is where we really shine as agents, right? As sellers are receiving offers on a home that they are so excited about. They've been there for 10 years, 30 years, whatever, how long they've been there. They're excited. This is their nest egg. This is moving them to their next, wherever their next thing is. And the buyers are like, I found the house, I found the house. And then and right now, the challenge is this. Guess what? So is 20 other people. Right, to Adrian's point, other people are excited about this house too. So how do we help them stay calm? We have to be calm, right? So I might be a little spastic in normal times, right? I'm a little high energy. I like to get like, yeah, let's write an offer. Yet I have to be calm. I have to be the Zen. I cannot buy into the emotion. Right? I want to be empathetic. I want to be excited with the buyer too. And okay, let's be logical. Because right now, guess what's happening with these poor buyers? They're hearing the news. And of course, we're preparing them in the buyer consultation that it's kind of a crazy market. Everybody agree with that? Right? So the fact that it's a crazy market, we need to say like, okay, we know it's a crazy market. And we see that people are not writing, you know, inspections in, but are we recommending that? Do we ever recommend that someone doesn't get a home inspection? No, we can never recommend it. We can share with them what's happening in the market. We can talk about the pros and cons. What's the pros to getting a home inspection? This is your guys' turn, interactive.
Peace of mind.
Tell me more about that, Jason. What does that mean?
Biggest investment of your life, for one. And if you go and waive the inspection and something goes wrong after closing,
Not a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
It's yours.
nothing. Yep.
Right.
I've been to inspections where, you know, septic, a well had failed. There was found knob and tube wiring in the house, and an insurance company won't even cover you with insurance if you have knob and tube. So if you were to waive an inspection and knob and tube was discovered, you might be uninsurable.
So we're talking about right now, that's a con of not having a home inspection, right? Is there things you're not going to see. So let's talk about the pros. The pros are peace of mind. You understand what you're buying. Who's been on a home inspection, either your own personal one or shadowing someone else's?
And so,
Right. And I love home inspections because you learn so much, right? You know, you learn in a home inspection how to shut off the water if there's ever a leak, right? You learn about your circuit breakers or if they're fuses. But how to, like, what happens? Like, all right, if you ever lose power and you don't have something working, come here, check here. You learn how to change the filter in your furnace, right? You understand what things look like, understand that, like, oh, if this light's blinking, you learn where your emergency shutoffs are. Plus you learn just about decks. I learned when I was at home inspections that you're supposed to lag bolt the deck to the house, meaning attach the deck to the house. I went right home and looked under my deck. That was not something that was happening. So my poor ex-husband, I was like, we need to lag bolt the house. And he heard about it like forever until it was done. So you learn a ton about your own house and other houses. But so for the buyer, they just understand what they're buying. And it doesn't mean that it's a renegotiation. It doesn't mean that they are not going to buy the house, but it's really important to explain to your buyer what happens in that home inspection. And the con is that you're going to move in, you're not going to understand all of that stuff, right? And there could be some big problem that you can't see with your eyes. What kind of problems are there that could be big for a buyer that they cannot physically see with their eyes? Tom?
What you cannot physically see with your eyes is under insulated. It could be stress cracks in the foundation, because people store so many things in basements. We've pulled things back from basement walls on inspections, and there were big stress cracks in the concrete, which can be a concern. And probably the most invisible is radon.
Termites.
Who said termites? Yeah, termites, carpenter ants, things you don't see.
Mold.
Mold,
Yeah.
right? Because, I mean, who knows if that black spot is mold or not mold?
Yeah,
Right?
sometimes that's discovered in the attics also if it was poor ventilation.
I feel like I find it more in attics than in basements recently. Like everything's going really good in the home inspection. They get to the attic, they're like, looks like a mold-like substance. We're almost home. So, and remembering that home inspections are just understanding, and then the buyer can budget for them, right? Or if it's something really bad, then they can go back and talk to the seller about it. But the fact is they need to understand and move forward, because is any house perfect? Any house. Not even new construction, my friends. There is not a perfect house. Most new construction comes close. Yet you'll find that the home inspector will say one thing, the builder's like, well, that's not code, and there'll be a little bit of arguing. So just understand, there's not a perfect house, and you should be sharing that with your buyer. This is my conversation with buyers, and we're kind of getting off track, but not really. Before they get to the home inspection, I tell them this. Do you remember when you fell in love with that first person and you were like, they are awesome. Look how beautiful they are inside and out. I love that person. And that's how you're going to feel about your house. I love this house. It is perfect. There isn't a perfect house, just like there's not a perfect human being, my friends. So I let them know that. I said, remember how you're all like blinded with love, and then the sunglasses come off, the blinders come off, and they're a real person. This is a real house. It's the same thing. You have to prepare them for that, right? You don't have to use my analogy, but I just think it's a good way to explain it, because everybody can relate. Did you all just relate to that? Right? Like, oh, I remember that feeling. And then you decide, do I want to move forward with this person? Yes or no? Same thing with the house. Do I like this house enough to be okay with the flaws? Now, maybe some of you have perfect partners out there or are a perfect partner. I am sure you're all perfect partners. But the fact is, relationships are hard, so are houses. Houses are work. Who owns a house here? And if you have not owned a house, did you live in a house that like somebody else owned? That should be everyone else, because if you're renting, somebody else owns the house. If you lived with your family, they own the house. And is there maintenance in a house? Right? So every house, even new construction, normally it has no lawn, needs trees, needs like something, right? So, all right. So home inspection. So my whole point was that they're nervous, they're excited, right? There's a lot of things going on. We have to be able to stay calm. So buyer makes an offer. We're gonna have both hats on today, just so you know, seller hat and buyer hat. Buyer's gonna make the offer. Now we're talking to our seller, and they have 3 ways to respond. They can counter offer, which is what we would love for them to do, and keep the negotiation going, right? Having it be a loop. They can accept the offer. Woohoo, that's the one we really like. And we start, we begin the contract to close process. That means they have an accepted offer. What do we need to do to closing? That's going to be a whole class that you guys are going to have this week. They can reject the offer. And then the buyer agent contacts listing agents to learn more. Don't assume no means no. So if you get a text message, hopefully that is not how it goes. But if you get a text message from the listing agent and they say, sorry, your offer's been rejected. You want to text back. Can you tell me more about that? Can you tell me what terms and conditions were not acceptable to the seller? Have they accepted another offer? Now, in this market, most likely, if you're getting that message, does that mean they've accepted another offer? Yes, it
Likely,
does. Typically in this market, it does, right? So you just need to know that. But still, why do we want to ask the question about why your offer didn't get accepted?
Limitless beliefs.
What'd you say?
I said you're leaving yourself to limitless beliefs if you don't.
Exactly. You need to understand, like, what could, is there still an opportunity? What is it? Because, they might come back and say, well, the other offer was willing to let my seller rent back for a week. Oh, I wish you had shared that with me because we definitely could do that. My buyers lives with their parents. Now you say, please let me know. So that way that if something happens with that first offer, who's in next place?
you're in next position.
That's right. You're in the next position. So you need to make sure you're getting some of that information, my friends. All right. So any questions about just the process? Like, this is how it works. The beginning. All right. One of the things I want to make sure I highlight here is I rarely allow my seller to reject an offer. I mean, obviously in a multiple offer situation, we're rejecting somebody's offer. But if I have one offer, I'm always going to encourage at least a counter offer. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I know that this is not all the terms and conditions that you were hoping for. Let's focus on what we could go back to. What do you like about this offer? Let's work with that. And then let's counteroffer with the terms and conditions that aren't as acceptable to you. Does that make sense? Because when you have one offer and you totally reject it, what does that do? It shuts
Got
down
nothing at that point.
You got nothing, and it shuts down the conversation. We want to keep the conversation going. And that's where you're always reminding the seller, what's the purpose in having your house in the market? To get it sold, right? We don't want to just shut the door. Let's see what we can work with. And just so you know, tried and true, well, except in this market because it's kind of bananas. Typically, first offer is the best. Typically, like, I don't have a percentage, but I would say 90% of the time. All right, so now we got to get ready to prepare the offer, and a little preparation is going to go a long way in you getting those offers accepted, my friends. So guess what? We have a checklist for that. So if you look on page 3 in your participation guide, it talks about some of the things you need to have to prepare for an offer. Does anybody need me to repost the participation guide? I'll do it one more time. There you go. I just reposted it in the chat. So on page 3, there's a checklist. Who has page 3? Who's looking at it? Can someone read it to me so we can talk about it?
You want me to read the whole thing?
Well, let's just start with the first one.
Okay, first one. Obtain the buyer's pre-approval letter from their lender. Your client's offer will be more attractive to the seller if the pre-approval letter is submitted at the same time.
So we're never submitting an offer without a pre-approval letter. That is not a complete offer, my friends. So we always want to have that. And I will challenge you to, the fact is you should have that before you're writing the offer, before they're going in your car. You should be having that pre-approval letter. You keep it in your dot loop or your DocuSign so that way you have it and you're ready to go. And the buyer's not saying, oh, I don't have it quite yet. The only reason you would not have that in your possession would be they got a pre-approval for 400. They could afford more, but that was where they wanted to stay. But we found the perfect house at 420. And so now you need a new letter. It's the only reason you wouldn't have it in your hand. So if you're looking at the house on a Saturday, and you're gonna, offers are due on Monday, you're having the buyer or yourself reach out to the lender and say, ooh, can we get an updated pre-approval with this number that we need? Does that make sense? All right, awesome. Hi, Nina. Number 2, who can read me? Want to just continue? Adrian, do you mind
Sure,
reading number 2?
yeah.
Confirming inspection tomorrow, Tuesday. I know.
Go ahead, Adrian.
All right, produce a CMA to educate and inform your buyers.
A CMA, market analysis. Did you know you have to write one for buyers too? And so tell me about some limiting beliefs in this market around market analysis. Anyone have any about doing a market analysis in this market? No?
Every seller thinks that their house is worth more than it is. That's one thing.
That is true. When you do a market analysis, they do think it's worth more than you put on the paper.
For the buyer, you know everything's going over asking, so there's some apprehension on what you really want to spend.
Right. I love that, Chuck, and I love the fact that this market is different. It's unique. You guys coming in a unique time in history. So thinking about, to Chuck's point, houses are going over asking. First of all, it depends on the market. It's typical in most markets that it's going over, but do you know the percentage in the market you service? Right, and if you don't, I challenge you to get that figured out. So for example, I had a listing and I know that the houses are going about 10% over asking. So we priced it knowing we'd probably get a little more. We had 8 buyers. Out of the 8 buyers, I want to say 6 of them did 10% over asking. So it's a trend. And so the market analysis is going to show you that trend, because all of the property that started in January is finally closing, and you now can see those real numbers. So we're not guessing as much as we were. But the fact is that we know that it's going higher most of the time.
But right now, because of the market, we're still guessing, because it's what a able, willing, and ready buyer is going to pay for that house. And no matter what they have it priced at, that's the number. And so when you're looking at it, going through your market analysis and seeing those things and keeping in mind that percentage will really help you tell your people whether, like, look, I understand you want the house that bad. However, are you ready to pay the appraisal gaps? Are you ready to do all of the other things if it comes in too low? So having that other conversation in this environment that we find ourselves in is also key. So keeping them realistic about, yeah, sure, we can go 50, 60,000 over, but are you ready to pay if in fact that doesn't work out to our benefit?
Yep. So definitely you have to have those conversations. And so that market analysis and the data to go with the market analysis is what's really important. Right. So even in this crazy market where we feel like it's throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what will stick, does it feel that way a little bit when you're writing offers? Like, I hope it sticks, but you don't really know. We are guessing a little, but there is some data that goes along with it. So that market analysis is really important, instead of just, yeah, you just have to ask over, trust me, because it's the biggest investment of their life. Yes, Tom?
Have you seen many escalation clauses in offers?
It depends on the market and the area. Escalation clauses are definitely something that's happening.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah. So, you know, what, Nina?
What state is Tom in?
Most about 80% Connecticut, 20% Rhode Island.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was on an Ignite class last week, and someone mentioned there's like some form you need to fill out for those.
Yeah, it's an addendum.
So, yeah, be careful with them.
Yeah.
We in Massachusetts do have an addendum form that you fill out as well. So, all right. Adrian, will you continue?
Sure. The next one is to review the tax records for information about pricing history.
So I don't necessarily think this is an important one. I'm going to tell you that right now, because it doesn't really matter what they bought the house for. It can give you a snapshot, but it doesn't matter. Does not matter. Because what matters is the market today. But I look at it. I look at it mostly for sellers' names, book and page number that I need for the offer. Next one, Adrian.
Next one's just to ensure the property is still available before spending any time preparing an offer. Ensure that the MLS indicates that its listing is active, and also contact the listing agent to let them know that you're interested. If it's off the market, let your buyer know immediately and promptly begin the search for another home.
So highlight, I wouldn't like this for a reason. Call the listing agent. You have to call everyone. You want to have that conversation, right? Is it still available? Do you have any offers, right? The communication is key into getting your offer accepted. Because guess what? It's not just about the buyer. Sometimes your buyer might offer less than someone else, but because you wrote a complete offer, because you were prepared by using this checklist, because you know your stuff, your offer gets accepted even at a lower price for your buyer. Wouldn't that be awesome for your buyer? Right? So this preparation is so important. And just because it says active in MLS does not mean it's still active. You could have shown it at 2 and it could be gone by the time you're thinking about writing an offer at 3. So you got to call. Don't assume, because it's a lot of work. And we just talked about writing a market analysis. That takes some time. Do you want to put all that time in and then call to send the offer over? And they say, oh, sorry, it's gone. Ugh, that'd be crushing. I don't want you to waste your time like that. Let's do the next one, Adrian.
Sure. It's pretty similar to what you were just saying, but when speaking with the listing agent, build rapport and gather as much information about the seller and the property as you can.
So Adrian, if I was going to call you, can you be the listing agent for a second?
Sure.
Ring, ring.
Hello, this is Adrian.
Hey, Adrian, it's Lorna Helms from Keller Williams Realty, Boston Northwest. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Lorna?
Awesome. Are you getting any rest in this crazy market?
Not much.
Yeah, I know, huh? It's tough. Hey, I know you're busy, so I just have a few questions about 123 Main Street. Can you tell me, do you have any offers on that yet?
We don't have any at the moment.
Okay, awesome. And now I see that you have a deadline in here of Tuesday at 2. If I wrote you an offer, would your seller be willing to look at it today?
We will look at it, but we really don't want to give any answers until Tuesday.
Okay, so you're not going to respond till Tuesday. All right, and is your seller found another property to go to?
He's actively searching, but he has not found a property yet. You might see in the details that, there is a contingency that we would like him to find suitable housing within 60 days.
Okay, and is he, so he started looking, but just hasn't identified the property yet?
Yeah, he is actively looking. I know he's viewed a couple, but I don't believe he's found one that suited him yet.
And what if he didn't find the property? Is he going to go rent somewhere, or is he basically saying, if I don't find something, I'm not selling?
I think we're hoping to be able to, if we did come to an agreement, hopefully, if he didn't find anything yet, hopefully we could extend the contract a couple days, but I think he could potentially rent if it comes to that.
Okay, so it sounds like he has some flexibility.
Yeah, he is flexible. He's not on a deadline.
Okay. And is there anything that's important? Obviously, price is always important, but is there anything else that's important for your seller? Sounds like that flexibility in closing is important. Anything else?
Yeah, really, that flexibility would be key. If we could ease him a little, I know he's pretty anxious about trying to find a place to move to. So, if your buyer's willing to be flexible, I think that would be very helpful to us.
Okay. Adrian, has he thought about doing a rent back type of scenario where we could close in 30 days and I could have let him rent back for, say, 60 days?
We haven't considered that, but I think that's something you could be interested in.
All right, that would be great, because I mean, my buyer can close quickly. We're already through underwriting, really just getting a quick appraisal. And then, because they live with their parents, they have some flexibility. So they'd be willing to rent, rent back to the seller for 60 days. That might give him the freedom to feel a little more comfortable to move forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds like a great option. I will definitely discuss that with him.
Okay, awesome. If you wouldn't mind, can you check to see if he's open to that? Because I would definitely want to put that in my offer.
Yeah, I will contact him right now.
Awesome. All right, great. Adrian, thank you for taking the time to reach out to me and to answer my questions. And I'll look forward to hearing back from you after you talk to the seller.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for the call.
All right. So Adrian's like my new best friend right now, just so you know.
Lorna, I have a question.
Sure.
The question on, doing the lease back. Would most mortgage companies allow that you were buying as a primary residence and weren't going to be moving into it for 60 days?
Yes. So two things. One is you can do a lease back, meaning like a rent back, even though in Massachusetts, our attorney that we have always talking to us on morning huddles does a use and occupancy agreement. So a little bit different because you're not creating that tenant situation. That is from Massachusetts. Check with attorneys in your state. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is most mortgage companies, as long as you're moving in within 60 days,
Okay.
will allow that to happen. Again, this is where our vendor partners become really important. We want to know that that's fine before we throw it out there in an offer. So make sure you're checking in with your person. Great questions. All right, so we just built up this great report. I know the next one says asking questions of the listing agent. You just saw me do that, right? Adrian, let's go to the next one, inquire.
Inquire about the activity on the property, such as the number of showings.
Why do you think that's important?
Know what the competition's gonna look like?
Right. Is there a ton of showings? Is there not? Who uses showing time or something similar where you can kind of see the activity a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's popular here.
Yeah, so that helps you a little bit. All right, next one.
Obtain a seller's disclosure statement, which provides detail on any physical problems with the property on which the seller is aware.
All right, so in your state, is it a law that the seller's disclosure has to be filled out? You guys should unmute because you're all in different states.
I believe in Maine it is, yes.
In Maine, it is.
In Mass, not right. It's not mandatory.
It is not the law in Mass. Nope, it's not mandatory. What about Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire?
I don't think it is in Rhode Island either. Mass and Rhode Island, I don't think it's required.
Okay. So if you're not sure of that answer, you want to write that down and find out for your state. Okay, my friends. So ask your PC coach, ask your broker, but you want to know that answer. Because in our state, if somebody does fill it out as part of a proper full offer, you want to make sure that you get it. They have to countersign it, acknowledging it.
Lorna, I have a question.
Sure.
So, as you know, in Mass, it's not mandatory, but why do sellers do that? Does it give them help them to avoid any liability down the road?
The point of it is to make sure you just disclose everything. It's almost like a reminder, like, oh yeah, we did have this happen once, or blah, blah, blah. And it opens up the conversation. So sometimes the seller will say like, oh yeah, we did have water in the basement. What that was because the water heater broke. Oh, really? What year was that? And now I've just learned as a listing agent, all sorts of information, but now they can say to that to the buyers if they ask like, oh, there's evidence of water. Oh, the seller mentioned to me that this happened, a year ago. And that's why you see that. They just didn't fix the wood or whatever. Okay. Great question. All right. And then the last question, Adrian.
All right, last one. Find out if there have been other offers. If so, what is their status or why did they fall through?
That's right. Why is that important?
To see if there's anything wrong with the property.
See if there's anything wrong with the property. So disclosure is a law. Pretty sure it's a law in every state. I don't think that's just Massachusetts, right? So if it fell through and it is a safety structural, issue, the seller's agent has to tell you. So you should ask the question. So how do you find out if the house was on the market besides asking and then came back on? How else would you find out?
MLS.
MLS. Got to look at that property history, my friends. And you know, in Massachusetts, and I know in other states, you have due diligence time, right? So if it went off the market and then 10 days later came back on the market, what do you think could have happened? They had a home
Inspection not good.
That's right, an inspection issue, right? So asking the question, but sometimes, and I'm the first person to go, it definitely was an inspection issue. And then I call the agent, and you know what they tell me? Like, oh, the buyer lost their job, or, you know, so sometimes it's just something weird that you wouldn't expect them to say. So always ask the question. All right, any questions about that checklist? Any additions that you would do to prepare to write your offer? What about, I just had it in the tip of my tongue and I totally just lost it. Oh, when it says to review tax records, you know what it made me think of is building permits, checking with the town, right? So do you check with the town or does the buyer check with the town?
We do.
We do.
Depends on your market center and your rules. But so what I will tell you is I get a lot of training from Anita Hill, and she was actually my trainer when I got my license 28 years ago at my old company. Well, my very first company. And what she says is be the source of the source. So if Melissa calls the town hall and says, can you tell me if there's any building permits? Now, in the old days, we would go to the town hall and ask for the file. And I'm looking through the file and I say, oh, I'm just going to take a couple pictures or get photocopies of these 3 things. But I don't think these other things are important. Those were a long time ago. Well, maybe they are important to the buyer, or maybe they have some piece of information. Are you guys building inspectors? Do you know what permits, what in a house permits need to be pulled? Like if somebody changes a window, do you need a permit?
I think that you should still know that stuff in the state that you're licensed in. I think those are important things to, over time, you're gonna learn as an agent.
But you might not know right now, right? So I think that it is, I don't think it's our job to decipher a building permit file. I think it's we can gather the information, but we're getting the whole file. So if you're gonna get the whole file and bring it and give it to the buyers, awesome. And right
In Maine,
now,
I think we physically have to go to like the town hall and get the file and.
we do a lot of times. And if there's questions about one of the permits, what should we do next? If the buyer says, Adrian, I see this permit and can you tell me, like, I don't really understand what it means.
Well, you're saying if we don't know what it is, or or what's the question, I guess? So
if I see like, oh, it looks like they pulled a permit for, I don't know, a wood stove, or nope, that's not even a good example. They pulled a permit for siding.
Yeah.
Right. So in Massachusetts, and they believe it or not, you do need a permit for that. But so in Massachusetts, they pulled a permit for siding, but they never got it signed off on.
Right? Lorna, when you say siding, new siding or painting the wood shingle?
Siding, like adding siding.
Okay.
Or a roof or anything, right? But all I'm saying is this, and I'm probably belaboring the point, but I just really want you to be the source of the source. Like here, I got the information, but if you have questions, you should probably ask the building department. If you have a question about any permit that's been pulled, ask the building department. And I'm just going to tell you, my friends, I have a listing that's coming on. As a listing agent, you should be getting that information too. So I called the town. We can't go in town halls yet in Massachusetts. She sent me everything. And I talked to my seller yesterday. I said, you renovated the whole kitchen, like to the studs, new electrical, new plumbing, everything. I said, you told me you got permits. I called the town hall. they don't have a permit. My poor sellers were like freaking out. What? You kidding? No, we did it. I'm like, well, do you have any copies? No. So they're calling the building department today because I don't want to put the house on the market saying, oh, they renovated everything, blah, and were permits pulled? Well, yes, but we have no copies. We don't know about it. You know what I'm saying? So listing agents, you should be getting that information so that way you can get ahead of it. Because buyer agents who are doing their due diligence and getting the information, they're gonna look. And a lot of times you'll find out that the contractor never got it signed off on and the homeowner has no idea.
Would that affect the listing, Lorna? Like in your case, since there was no permit pulled to do that work, do that need to be corrected, or you just move on with the listing?
So they are going to go get, they did pull them. So we just have to find out where they are. So we will get them, but insurance can refuse to cover things that don't have permits pulled for. So if you have a deck and you didn't pull a permit, I'm fighting with my fiance about this right now. So I'll tell you, my house, new deck, no permit, very upsetting for Lorna, the rule follower. So anyway, if that deck collapses and they find it, like look for a permit, insurance can refuse to can't not cover that. Like that's like the ripple effect. Again, I'm not an insurance expert. I'm just telling you the little bit of information that I know after 28 years. But so they should understand what that all means. And that's an attorney. That might be an insurance provider that could talk to them about that. I'm very cautious. I mean, 28 years, my friends. I've been doing this a long time. I've had a lot of transactions, but the fact is this, I'm careful. I'm not going to be the expert. I'm going to get them to the source. You know, I really think you should talk to an insurance person, or you should go have coffee with an insurance person and understand what the effect is from not having a permit. Can a building department, finished basements are famous for this. They don't get permits. And there's a big, huge deal when the buyer's agent goes to find it. And can the building department require that they rip everything out and start again? Yes, yes, they can.
What if your seller does not?
Just have to disclose it.
Who's gonna catch that along the way? Like if you're listing a home that, like, you know, say like they finished the basement but didn't get a permit for it, and the buyers wanted to make an offer and like the buyer agent didn't catch it, would somebody like catch that along the way, or is that on like the buyer agent to?
It's that's your part of your responsibility, right?
Okay.
So you're fiduciary. And that's where, again, a lot of times I'll say to the buyer, I had a buyer who's like a chemical engineer, super detailed. I said to her, this is the phone number for the building department. I wanted her to look at it. And she looked at every little teeny thing because that's what she does for a living. Like whatever she does is pulling permits for something. And she was like super detail oriented. I was not even gonna a little bit pretend to be as detail oriented as she is. So you really need to be the source, get them the information and give it to them. And then if there's questions, send them back to the source. Right?
I have a question. Wouldn't it, for liability reasons, just be better to recommend that the buyer go directly to the town hall, the city, whatever? Because if you miss one thing as the listing agent or the buyer's agent, aren't you setting yourself up for liability?
Janice, yes, you are correct. That was what I was saying through the lines. I'm glad that you were hearing what I was saying. Be the source of the source. Yes, you can make things easier. As a listing agent, I always check in. I look and see what I can see. All I can see is what they give me, right? Like I found out that they didn't have building permits. There was nothing on file. But then it's the seller's job to go get the information. I can't do that, right? And so same with buyers. I can send them the file, the whole file. But then if there's questions or anything else, they should be doing that research. You can give them phone numbers, all of that, but you just don't want to be that expert. Does that make sense?
Yes. Absolutely.
Tom.
Yeah, I have a question. I had one, and I'm sure there's hundreds or thousands of these. and it was a struggle to get through. And that was a leased solar system on a roof.
Yep, and that is, again, something that's, I don't want to say new, right? But it's not on every single house. So
Right.
it's not something that any of us are experts at. And that really is where, again, can you give us the info as a buyer agent? Can you get me the information about the solar panels?
Yeah, the lender wasn't embracing it well.
Underwriters struggle with some of that. Yeah, so sometimes that's an issue, right? So understanding again with your lender, that's a great point. Like what, is this going to be a problem?
Yeah, because with solar panels, they put a lien on the house. So the lender has to be creative of how they take the lien off and put it back on if the buyer is to assume that lease when they purchase the house. So that's why some lenders find it tricky, because it may not be something that they're used to doing. But if there's a good attorney involved who has seen it, then that's where your saving grace will be for that type of situation.
And this to piggyback on Nina is to say that make sure you're building relationships with the attorneys for all of these scenarios, because it really is important to help you write language so you're not acting as an attorney. And to, again, for all the like 1 to 2 transactions we're doing, they're doing like 20 times as many, right? So they are seeing more than most of us are seeing. Maz,
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah. So do you ask, as a listing agent, do you ask your before you sign the listing agreement about the building permit, about the work that was done, or after you sign? And the reason I'm asking is some seller will be turned off when you start asking this question, and they might just like fire you and go with somebody else because if they have something hitting.
Well,
I don't think you want to work with that person.
This is a 2-part question for me, Maz, because yes, you should get the listing agreement signed, but if you don't have somebody who's honest and upfront, do you really want to work with them? Right? So
no listing is worth your license or reputation.
No. I heard a story once, actually from Anita Hill, that she went on a listing appointment and the seller showed her around the house, and then she was in the basement and she saw a rocking chair kind of randomly in the middle of the basement. And she's like, "What's that?" And she went to touch it and the seller said, "Oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Just an old rocking chair." So she said, "Okay." So they went back upstairs to sit at the kitchen table and she was asking him some questions. She said, "Wait 1 second." And she hopped up and ran to the basement, went to move the rocking chair, and there was like a sump pump hole in it. And it's ridiculous why he even did that. But she's like, why were, he was like, he was like chasing her down the stairs. She said, She went back upstairs. She said, "I don't think we can work together. Good luck with selling your house," and walked out the door. So your integrity, your license is not worth working with somebody that you do not feel is being above board. Okay, so we spent a lot of time on this, but I just want to make sure that we mentioned about that on the checklist. We are going to move on. Do you have any questions about the preparation list? All right, well, here comes the fun part, because guess what? We're going to start talking about writing the offer. So you'll need to get, we actually have a checklist for this too, but you want to make sure it's going to look different for all of us as we are writing offers, because we're in different states, right? But some things are going to be exactly the same. So if all of you can turn to page 4, I put it in the chat. So if you don't have the participant guide, and I want to review this quickly together, right? Price and terms, right? We want to make sure that we know what is logical for the buyer to be offering. Is there any logic in today's market? I just want to know, because I'm not seeing it. So then next, seller's disclosure. I want you to think about what's included. So Conveyances, what's included? Is there a swing set? Depending on your state, what's affixed to the wall? Right? Are there curtains? Are there drapes? Are there cabinets? So is there a shed? There's
Seeing a lot
lots of
of
things.
wall-mounted TVs these days too.
Wall-mounted TVs. Yep, that is a thing. So the TV gets going, but the wall mount stays. But if the wall mount comes out, then there's big holes in the wall. Seller needs to take care of that, which is why my sellers just leave their wall mount. They're like, we don't want to bother. So what's included? That's a great conversation to have with the buyers you're walking around. And I tell them that at the buyer consultation. You know, what is it? And as a listing agent, when you're walking around in each room, take note. Is that affixed to the wall? Is that not? We had somebody who had a Murphy bed. I was walking through with a new agent at a house in Worcester, and they had a Murphy bed in between all these shelves as like a guest bed. I was so creative for a small house. And she said, it was attached. I said, well, it's staying. But she said, well, I don't want to leave the mattress because that's gross. I said, that's fine. Throw out the mattress. I don't care. And we just disclosed it, right? But so as you're writing your checklist, as you're walking around to take the listing, or as a buyer, keep in mind what's staying and what's going. What's earnest money, right? What money are you putting down? And again, hopefully as a buyer agent, you've talked about this a little bit in the buyer consultation, you've gone through with them, but making sure you understand what it's like in your area. Time for acceptance. That's the conversation with the listing agent, right? Did I ask Adrian, I'm going to write an offer. Would your seller look at it? He was very clear. Yep, they'll look, but we're not accepting it. So I had to put, you know, that Tuesday or whenever it was. And so that's just a little side note. In MLS, it says seller will review offers on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. What are we writing for a seller acceptance time?
I still give 24 hours.
Thank you, Nina. Exactly.
You're welcome.
Yeah. That means that's when they're reviewing them. A lot of times that just means when the agent is getting all the offers, because lots of agents send them at 5 of 2 or 2:10, and then they have to organize the offers, and then they have to meet with the sellers when they get out of work. So asking the question, what time will you be reviewing the offers with the sellers? I just want to make sure I put enough time in the offer. But if you do 24 hours, that's usually safe. Financing terms, right? How much are they in total getting for a mortgage? Loan approval. Typically, it's different in, I'm gonna say it's different in every state. In our state, in Massachusetts, typically we put 3 weeks from the accepted offer. Is that what you do in Rhode Island, Nina? I think you're in Rhode Island, right?
My office does Rhode Island and Massachusetts.
Okay, so what do you do?
So, but Rhode Island goes straight to PNS, so it's a little different.
So what do they do for a loan commitment typically?
It's like, because everything was so crazy with COVID, and I still think we're trying to get back on track. We do like 7 days before closing.
Okay.
It's kind of typical.
Yeah, so
Now-
everybody's gonna, what do you do if you have a faraway closing? Like say it's not till the end of August.
That's a conversation I just have with the lender, honestly. Like, what do you want to do? Like, this is your deadline, not mine. What can you provide?
I love that, Nina, right? You have a conversation with the lender. Because some mortgages are easier than others. Some people have already gone through all the way through underwriting. They just need appraisals. But the pushback could be, look, at appraisers are taking like 21 days. Like we need 21 days. So you have the conversation before you put the date in. Because the seller wants it to be as tight as possible. But we want to live in reality, don't we? Yes, we'll have it in a week. Yeah, we'll get it done. And the attorney and the mortgage person look at you like you have 5 heads. It's not happening. And then you have to go ask for an extension, and that's not fun. So work with your vendor partners to make sure of dates.
And if you have good communication with them now, even if you don't have your buyers lined up or your seller or whatever it is, having these things and getting to know them now makes you better when you start writing them, because then you're like, oh wait, we're using this company. All right, he's already said that they need X amount of time to do this. So like, it's okay. Like, hopefully people are coming back to their market centers, and like, you can start having these or going to lunches with them and stuff like that. Just to get to know them and make those relationships is really important.
And especially if you're a newer agent, it's so nice to get to know people, right? To understand how it works. So most of our offices have a relationship with at least like either somebody has a mortgage person in the market center or that services it. And then maybe ask your top agents, like, who is it that you like? Because guess what? The people that everyone likes, they get busy, and you need to have a couple backups. So if that person in your office is like overwhelmed and can't service somebody, or say that I have somebody, you know, like matching personalities, like using the disc profile a little, right? I have one woman who I love. She's awesome, but she is like quick, doesn't like. So if I have somebody who's more like slow, like wants to just like needs the little bit of a slower process, she's not my person, because they're not going to feel cared for. So really get to have a list. Closing date, right? Conversation with the seller. What kind of closing date? Like I did with Adrian, right?
Glad this says make sure that the list, it's closing on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That has been my rule of thumb ever since I started. You don't want stuff to hit the fan on a Friday afternoon and then have to struggle to get an occupancy, you know, signed, and oh, it's a headache. So that's key to have in mind. Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays.
Okay, I have a story for you. Are you guys ready on this? It's my own personal story. It's a story of heartbreak. So I was buying a house with my fiance a couple of years ago, and I wrote my offer, and I said, let's close on a Thursday. That was the first thing. The seller said, I really want to close on Friday. Okay, that's fine. Now, mind you, end of August, it was Labor Day weekend. So I said, all right. So my attorney assured me in the negotiation of that date that we would get on record first thing in the morning. So I said, I want to close at the Registry of Deeds because I wanted to go on record in the morning. We had hardwood floor guys lined up to do the hardwood floors. We're going to paint a few rooms before we moved in. We signed in the morning, like 9:30. The seller's side was delayed, so she had to send it over to the seller's side. We finished at like 10:30. She's like, go get lunch. Packed my car up, got lunch, celebrated, cheers. Yay, we have a house. We're so excited. And by like, what? And I had the keys. All right, so I'm just going to be very transparent. I did not follow the rules in this instance. It was a mistake. Just tell you now. So I go to lunch. I pack my car up. It's like 2 o'clock. I'm like, can't believe we're not on record yet. Haven't heard anything. I was like, we got to be on record. Donna must have just forgot to call me. So we head over to the house because we really want to start getting some stuff done. We're in the house. And finally, at 3 o'clock, I call her and I say, Donna, what's going on? Like, I haven't heard from you. I just check in. She's like, are you in the house? Yes. The seller drove by, saw me in the house. And she said, we're not on record. And Lorna, the Registry of Deeds crashed. She e-filed it because she said it was no problem. It crashed and burned. I was stuck in the queue. I was like, well, can't you just drive over? Oh no, not when you're in the queue. You cannot do it by paper at that point. And the seller was so mad that she saw me in the house, wouldn't give me a use and occupancy for the weekend and made me wait till Tuesday. To say that I was beyond upset, my attorney still talks about that. She's like, I'm so sorry. It was my fault too. I shouldn't have been in the house. But the main purpose of this story is don't close on a Friday. Do not close on Fridays. It was awful. And on a holiday weekend in particular. And don't think that e-file is perfect. Those are my life lessons from Lorna. So everyone in my market center knows that because I say that story all the time. And I learned a lot that day, even as a seasoned agent. All right. Next thing, thank you for bringing that up, Nita.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Oh, okay, so I wrote an offer and I did do a closing date for Friday. If it is accepted, is there any way to change it now that I'm knowing this?
Trust when I say closings happen on Fridays all the time without issue as well. So it is okay. Just, shoot for a morning closing, because in most states, you don't get the keys till you're on record, which means that the buyer can't be in the house. I will also tell you that in some spaces, everybody loves each other. My seller didn't like me. And I'm pretty likable, don't you think? But she didn't like me before I got in the house. But anyway, so typically the sellers will say, like, I don't care, go head over, right? If the buyers have their furniture on a moving truck. That's not always the case, but sometimes. Look, I'm just letting you know, don't totally stress. It's just something to think about. It will close, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Not all closings have drama to them. Some of them do go nice and smoothly. It's just to prevent something from happening, if you can do it, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays.
And of course, nobody tells you the good stories. We're all giving you the horror stories. It really is. They do happen fine. I will tell you though, everything has a hiccup, right? Every single deal, there's something. And sometimes I always say it's like a speed bump. Sometimes it's a little speed bump. Sometimes it's like, whoof, horrible speed bump. You don't want to break in your car, right? So our job is to make it as smooth a road as possible with as few speed bumps as possible. And sometimes it happens at the beginning when you're negotiating. Sometimes it happens at the home inspection. Sometimes it happens during the mortgage or the title search. And sometimes, for me, it was the closing. So it is going to happen. It's small and little. Sometimes you don't even know it happened, right? There's a title hiccup you never even hear about.
But are you able to change it, like even once you're negotiating, just to be sure?
Well, once you're signed by two parties, usually the dates don't move unless two parties agree.
Okay.
So if for some reason you said, geez, the buyer's wondering, can we close the Thursday before? And the seller goes, yeah, I don't care. Then you can close that Thursday before. But typically once you're in a contract, the contract dates stand.
Okay, thank you.
And especially in a seller's market, the sellers pretty much have control right now, just saying. All right, so home warranty, I don't know about your areas, but our area, this is not a popular thing, especially in this market right now. Repair limits. So in an offer, again, this market's a little unusual, that you can put in, I don't know about every state, so Nina, you can tell me about Rhode Island, and if you're in other states, you could tell me if you've had a contracts class. We have an aggregate number in the home inspection contingency that you can put in. And obviously the seller likes it to be super high because that means you're gonna have a home inspection and not nitpick on every little thing. So the seller likes it high. The buyer, in a regular market, I like it low as a buyer agent. Right now, I can't do that with my buyers. I'm writing high home inspection aggregates, which means that it's a little tougher out there for the buyers in this way. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but it is a little tougher. Right?
Excuse me, that if I can say something.
You can.
Rhode Island, I'm a Rhode Island agent, and it a lot of times, to get the offer in, I mean, you're one amongst 15, 20 people. Sometimes if they choose not to have a home inspection, I always advise them to do one, but if they put one in without, you can tell your buyer that you would pay for a home warranty. And there is a good company I use around here. It would cost me like $550 just to get an edge over the next,
I know one that could save you like $125. It's $425. I just did one.
Oh, okay. You can let me know.
No, that's a great point.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, okay.
There's some strategies for sure. Thank you for bringing that, Maureen. There's definitely some strategies. I just did a pre-inspection before I put the offer in, meaning I couldn't even get a home inspector because the seller wouldn't allow that. But we had a contractor friend that I paid to come over and walk around and just get an idea of what they're buying. And then they brought dad and a best friend who's a contractor. So there are some ways around
What
that.
do you think about, okay, what do you think about, say, you know, when you put in home inspection for purposes of just, you know, I mean, if I'm a seller's agent, I mean, if I'm listing the property, I say to them, yeah, okay, you can do that, you know, after the home inspection period's over, you know?
Yeah, and in Massachusetts, a lot of sellers agents are saying you can do that after the purchase and sale is signed. So we are seeing that a lot. I tell my sellers, if I have offers that say for informational purposes only, it's not as good as the paper is written on, like it to me. And so when I'm writing offers, I actually don't write that in because I feel like that is an oxymoron, really. Like, let's
right.
So
Yeah.
I don't find value in that language, but some people do. And I do see it a lot in offers, but I love your point, Maureen, is to, as a listing agent, making sure the seller understands what that means.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for your input. I appreciate it. I love your glasses too. Any special clauses or contingencies? So this can be where the use and occupancy after the closing. So anything that's special or unique. I will tell you what, a lot of times I will see in offers, language that has nothing to do with like the deal. Just like buyer has nothing to sell. That probably doesn't belong in my mind. Now you guys tell me if you do it differently. In the contract, that's in my cover letter. Cover letter is where you put that stuff. That's not really part of the contract. That's like an extra thing, right? So it doesn't belong in there. So special clauses of contingency are about the property, about the deal. And then the cover letter. Yes.
Excuse me, Lorna.
Mhm.
Do you mind just putting up the shared screen real quick while you read along?
Yes, sorry. Oh, do you not have it with
No,
you?
thank you. Yeah, no, I don't. Sorry.
That's okay. It doesn't have the whole checklist. That's the whole problem.
I'm printing out the whole packet as we speak. So
So this is the checklist, but it does end with the financing terms. It doesn't go all the way down to the bottom.
that's fine as long as I have something.
Oh, and I did skip over the buyer pre-approval letter, but we already talked about that in the checklist of preparing.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions so far? I know I talked really fast. Nothing? All right. I'm going to share with you guys and I will share them later. Hold on one second. Our team leader was an agent, obviously, in the past. And so she has a fantastic cover letter. She has 3 that she uses as a form, and she always lets me share them. So I'm happy to share them. So this one is, she obviously has it on a cover sheet. I love that she has this kind of all very professional. And then she says on behalf of her clients, and she writes, you know, the offer. Then she has it bulleted on the offer amount, the deposit, the additional deposit, financing, the closing. And see here, she writes a little note, buyer flexible on closing date. And this is, you know, little things that she wants to talk about. Who they're getting a mortgage from, the information of the mortgage person. So the selling listing agent does not need to rifle through everything to find the mortgage person if they want to talk to them.
It's so important right now, that letter right there with all like 14 offers. That is so important.
This is going to put you head and shoulders above the rest. So she has this one, and then she has one for VA loans because she does a lot of military. So she has information on that. And then she has an appraisal letter. Let's see. I'm saying I don't know why she uses this one. I'll have to find out. But my whole point is this, is that having that cover letter, Maureen, thank you for saying that. It really does have you stand out as a professional. Any questions about preparing or writing the offer? All right, this is a great place, I think, to take a break. Anybody else feel like they might need to fill their water, get some more coffee? All right, so we're not leaving. Please don't leave me. We're gonna mute ourselves. We're gonna go get a cup of coffee. It is 10:18. I'm gonna give you 12 minutes for a break. Ooh, yeah, Nina's psyched. So go grab yourself some coffee, some water, stretch those legs. I'll see you all back here at 10:30. We're gonna wrap it up. Sound good? All right, I love the thumbs up. All right, everybody, it is 10:30. So let's see if we can get everybody back. I will send the cover letter. I will actually post it on the Facebook page so you guys can look for it there, okay? I'll do it after class.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, any questions? Hopefully we have more people here. I need to see some more faces, my friends. So definitely if you are back, please put your picture on so that way I am not talking to black screens. Like,
I can't put my picture on, but I'm back.
all right, good to know. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna get started. So the next portion is about creating offers in command. I was kind of hoping Nina's gonna help me with this a little bit. I have not used this feature as much yet in command. So right now I'm gonna hold off until Nina comes back and we're gonna jump in to the next screen. Is that okay with everybody? Because we need the expert here. All right, offer writing guidelines. So this is on page 6 in your participant guide as well. So we talked about the cover letter, gives you a sample. Talks about the different things, just like what we just talked about, right? So, all right, nope, that's all we got. So thinking about offer writing guidelines, thinking about, I feel like we covered a lot of this, but you want to have bullet points in your cover letter. You do want to humanize people, right? So there is this, of course, gray area in terms, not even gray, fair housing. You need to be careful here in humanizing people. So it's not gray. I don't want to make it sound that way. You do need to be careful, right? But it is important for the seller to know who the buyer is. It does matter, right? It does, if it's a builder, let's talk about how cover letters can differ for a second. When we're humanizing our buyers to the seller, let's use scenario A. We have a builder. Tell me, what do you think is important for the builder? Money. Nina says money, right? Terms, condition, like he wants to know, are they closing quickly? He wants, show me the money. And what he might want to know is it maybe different if you have somebody who's never owned a home before to somebody who's bought a few homes? Right? So go ahead, Maureen.
They won't be as picky. If they bought houses before, they know how it works and maybe they won't be so picky.
It's possible, right? Exactly. And that's the builders are looking for clean, fast, and good money. What about someone who's been in their home at all? Like who's lived there? A homeowner. What do you think is important for them? Sometimes. Oh, I forgot the builder. They might want to know that they built a really solid, good home, right? Like love the finishes, so good. So that's that. So homeowners, they want to know that you love their home.
That you're going to take good care of it.
You're going to take good care of it. What else? And this is just a possibly. This isn't every homeowner, right? But humanizing your buyers. A lot of times it's, they can picture growing their, you got to be careful. But just talking about, I know, I'm very tongue-tied right now. Can you tell? Because things are different. Things are changing. You need to be aware. And so be very careful what you're writing. But connecting, I know, I knew I'd come up with something. You're walking around a house, you see a dog dish. This just happened. And then it was like, they're so excited that because they have 2 dogs and they can see their dogs running around in the yard. It actually mattered, right? So what's the connection that you can make with the seller to humanize your buyer? it is more, I know that nobody wants to believe this, but it is more than a transaction, right? Has anybody taken bold here? What's one of the bold law? What's one of the bold laws, Maureen, that would come into play when I'm talking about humanizing an offer? Ooh. How about emotion? Logic makes them think. Emotion makes them act. So, right?
Now, years ago, I used to always ask my buyers, and now they're kind of, with those love letters, they're kind of scared of them now, because of lawsuits. But there was one I wrote one year, there was, sorry. Sorry about that. I declined my phone. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
There was a letter that he was looking for a house, and he was a firefighter, and he said, I love your house. I can see my wife and I've been a firefighter. And of course, there was another offer. This was years ago when there wasn't really multiple offers, and it hit my buyer's offer was less than this other gentleman. He connected with the fireman because he wasn't a fireman, which I never knew. So they accepted our offer. But, I don't know. That's kind of a touchy subject now with the letters, Are you talking just about the cover letter?
Well, the cover letter, but also the buyer letter. I think it's a good segue into it. It is a real, I agree with you, Maureen, because that's why I think I struggled a little when we started talking about it, because when I have my buyer's hat on, I want my buyers to connect with the sellers, and I want them to show the cute little puppy with the bow on its head and, whatever. Yet with fair housing, that really is becoming something that they're shying away from. As a seller agent, I don't want love letters because I want my sellers to make a logical decision.
Do you ask, because you know how it gets confusing if you're a listing agent and you get all these offers with all the escalator clauses, are you recommending your seller to just do highest and best, or?
I think it has depended on the situation.
Okay.
The last house that we just closed, they did have, I want to say 11 offers, and we had 3 with escalation clauses. And so it really came down to some of the escalation clause ones were still lower than, like their cap was lower than. So it's easy to wipe them out. So I don't usually dismiss them unless it's that neck and neck close as a listing agent. And then I'll say highest and best. And usually I go back to the top 3, not all 11.
Yeah.
Because then it just gets even more confusing.
I know, it is confusing.
It's tough. I also have, and I will share with you guys, an amazing multiple offer spreadsheet that I got from Carrie Briner. She's a coach for Adam Herthenwager Coaching, and it's just very organized. So I will share that with you guys before we leave. I do have that as a Google form. All right, let's see. Oh, Nina, did you see my message?
I did, and I can absolutely show you guys how to, what it looks like to grab an offer and get it in command and that sort of stuff, but that's more on the compliancy side. I don't know how many of you are still using Loop versus DocuSign. What's the consensus in here?
I think it's a mixed bag, but in the curriculum, it really just talks about taking it from opportunity and then clicking on offers, the opportunity details, and clicking on offers and adding an offer in. That's what I'm talking about. Yep.
That I can totally show you guys how to do.
All right. If you could you want to do that now?
Yep, I absolutely can. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Nina.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So let me share my screen. I wish that I had 2 monitors. I don't know how I'm living my life without 2 monitors right now.
Sometimes with sharing screen and 2 monitors, you have to, it takes practice. It's taken me a while with the 2 monitors.
Yeah. All right, so if you don't know, this little handshake, or if you click on this red KW, it pulls out your opportunities. Okay, so at this point, if you're making offers for your clients, you should have already had them in as a contact and put in all their pertinent information, emails, phone numbers, addresses. Hopefully you've got them on a neighborhood nurture, all that good stuff. So I'm going to take somebody that I already have in my database, and I'm going to show you what it looks like to put in an offer. So I'm going to go to my contacts. Well, you could do this one or two ways, to be honest with you. You can either create an opportunity right from opportunities. That's what I'm going to show you how to do.
Yep.
So here, when you've got your opportunity page open, you'll just do the little green box, create opportunity. Here, it's going to show me, you know, all of my pertinent information, my market center and things like that. This is going to be for a buyer. Make sure you click on that. Then the client's name. We're going to pretend my daughter's buying. Young to buy, but she's still my dad. So y'all think that you can't put family in there? My daughter's 15 and she gets stuff from me from my database. So there. Because you have to test it out on somebody. All right, so she's my buyer. I'm going to change the opportunity name. Now this is really important because on the backside, because I'm also the ASC and I help my MCA with things in command doing compliancy, you need to change the opportunity name to be the address of the property, okay? Or else it's really hard for us to search.
I don't know what an ASC is. What is that?
Oh, Agent Services Coordinator.
Okay, thank you.
And I sell, it's all kinds of stuff. But so as you see, I made some stuff up before because this is not my first time teaching something like this. The only things that you have to put in are the ones with the little red dots. So we're going to say we're going to get a 2.5%. We are actively showing properties. And then we're going to hit create. So now it pulls up all the information. 123 Main Street here. And this is where you would, if you have DocuSign, you're going to click here, start transaction. If you have DocuSign already connected to your profile, that's another, today at 1 o'clock, if you don't know, it's command setup for the New England Tech series. So if you haven't done this kind of stuff, this is good to do now. So I know it'd be a long day, but it's good to do. But where we're entering offer information is going to be right here. So we're going to do add a new offer, and it's our initial offer. I never change this. This is up to you and how you like to create it. So I'm just going to say create offer. The offer date is today. Closing date, I'm going to put out to June, I don't know, June 29th. And 1, 2, 3. Main Street. Better. And then I'm going to click the parties. Seller's name is Flintstone. And again, we only need the information that is asterisk. Okay. Representative would be the seller.
Listing agent, right?
The seller's agent. Or now I'll use your name.
Okay.
Oh, now I have to move y'all because you are in my way. And again, only the asterisk stuff. Terms. So in order for the sales price to fill in, you have to enter stuff on these 2 items. Okay. So cash. So let's say it's a $300,000 purchase, and they're going to put 3% down. That's $9,000. Okay. And then the difference, someone better at math than me, Was that 21,210? Am I wrong? Nope. $291. All right, which gives us a total of a 300 sales price. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah.
All right. Earnest amount held could be the same amount. So let's say they're still putting, that's all they're putting down total, and that's what they've got in escrow. Now, all of these other items here are not required. Okay, they're not going to do anything. They're just there. Some states have these. So I don't put anything in them.
Nina, does this feed into the documents or is this just for?
Nope, it doesn't feed into the documents at all. It is kind of like, so our AI, which is Kelly, right? So she's absorbing all of this information. What the hopes is later on that the more information we put in here, the better, and eventually what it's going to happen is it's going to say, Maureen in Rhode Island, when sellers put down 3.4% and have a shorter, like instead of a 10-day inspection period, a 4-day inspection period, their offers are accepted more often than not. So eventually that's the stuff that they're going to do. But for like Mass and Rhode Island, the optional fees, like there's nothing like that here, right? We don't have that type of stuff. Termination options, I guess you can say 10 days because that's our inspection period if you really wanted to. Seller will contribute blank to residential service contracts. That's kind of like nothing to us, right? Seller would contribute something to settlement costs. Maybe there you want to add that those were closing costs. So if our buyers needed it, you could put that in there.
In this market, I would say for sure, we're probably not necessarily doing those if we can help it.
Exactly. So that's why these last 4 items kind of are not important to at least how I'm doing real estate, or at least even how Massachusetts and Rhode Island are doing real estate. So I really don't enter that information.
Excuse me?
Yes.
So I know in the beginning, you know, like the recommended offer date and then deadline for how long offer can be active, it's 24 hours. So say the offer date was 5/24, the close date would be like 5/25, correct?
No.
The closing date is when the actually, like, it comes to an end and the buyers get the keys.
Okay, so the offer date is different than the close date, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
All
It's
right, I guess
actually
my
the day
question-
that they're going to close and money exchange hands and keys exchange hands.
So the offer date is different than the actual closing date.
Yes.
All right, awesome.
So Nick, like today we're writing the offer and we're going to go through all our inspection periods and all of that. And then usually, depending on your state and everything else, it's 45 to 60 days to a closing.
All right.
It can be 30 days. If it's cash, it could be 2 weeks. But typically we're like 45 to 60 days from when we get an accepted offer till closing. All
Okay,
right.
perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
And then here we click agent analysis. Now, Lorna, like how you mentioned before, you have a spreadsheet that gives you all your stuff. If you're a listing agent, this is how you would do it too. It's just in a different format. So if you get 4 offers on your property, you would put in here, what are the pros of it? What are the cons of it? And the summary of it. As a buyer's agent, I really don't use this much because we're wanting that house. But on the listing side, this is really, really cool because you can put all of like pros, it closes in 30 days. Cons, they have a home sale contingency. Summary, it's a conventional loan. They're putting 25% down. Like you can put all of that information in there. And then when you click save, it saves the offer. And now you can add another offer if this is a listing, right? So that's what's kind of cool about this when it comes to the listing side. So everything that Lorna said when she had that spreadsheet, this is just like having that spreadsheet again, except it's in command. And now you can go through them all and it's pretty neat. So that's how you would.
Clarify. However, this information doesn't auto filter into an actual offer. This is really just informational for the listing agent, correct? And for
Right,
Kelly
but
and all that good stuff.
you also have to do this if your market center is using command to start paying your commission. This is
Okay.
something that you also have to do.
Okay, I was sorry, I was a little confused. I was thinking this was where you start to write the offer and the information fills into the actual offer, but it doesn't.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I thought the same thing as well. That's why I was confused.
Yeah, so that's why I said if you guys are using DocuSign, or if you're still using Dotloop, from this part where the third tab is documents. So if my market center uses DocuSign, so I would do start transaction right here, and my accounts are all set up right. So it would automatically bring me to DocuSign, where I can now download the required documents into a room that I can fill out and send electronically to my buyer for signature. So what I'm showing you here is part of compliancy in command, if your market center is using it for you guys to get paid at the end of the transaction, and also how to keep track of what is happening with your buyer. So if this offer got rejected, I would click reject. So now let's say we went through six different offers, because this market's crazy, right? Well, I mean, it's very possible that you're writing 6 offers on 6 different homes for your person. And then you go through them. This will give you a time to reflect, to say, what are we doing? How can I make these better? Or is it even possible for me to make these better for my buyer? So, because in the heat of the moment, we may not be thinking about that in our first few transactions. You're just, you're writing and they're getting denied and you're like, what should I do? This could give you a good basis of what's happening, because it's only pulling out what you're offering, like the contingency parts of everything. So that's how you can use this. But it's also required, if you are going to use this for your market center and compliancy, this has to be done. Does that make sense? Lorna, is there more that you want me to cover? Because I can go like a lot deeper, but
Nope, this is all, nope, that's perfect.
Okay.
I'm just adding in while you're talking, I was adding in the cover letter. People are asking me about that. So I figured I would take advantage and do that right now while I was thinking of it.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So when you are in DocuSign, what is the actual document called?
It's your offer to purchase. So if you're using MAR forms or GREB forms in Massachusetts, it depends. Hopefully your market center is going to have like contracts and compliancy classes for you. If not, I would reach out to, if you have a mentor, your PC coach or something, to start going over those documents with you and how to fill them out properly.
Thank you.
We have contracts class in our office, and that's where you learn to fill out all of these documents and practice, practice, practice.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Nina, for doing that for us, just so we can kind of, again, we want to make sure that we are utilizing command at its highest level, because that's how it gets smarter, just like us. So now let's continue on. So offers, do you guys feel like you have a good sense of offers?
Yes, Nina, do you mind dropping your email? Just so we can do an introduction meeting.
All right. Did we skip over role play? You guys are definitely not getting out of that. All right. So on page 8 in your guides, it talks about handling objections, right? So when the buyer wants to make a low offer, when the buyer wants the seller to make repairs, I want you to focus right now for this exercise on when the buyer wants to make a low offer. So guess what's going to happen right now? Breakout rooms, woo, my favorite. So we're just going to do, let's see, 40 people. We're going to do like 7, no, I already lost 2 people just by saying breakout room. This
No, come back.
3. So, all right. So we're going to create breakout rooms. You're going to practice the script just 5 minutes for when the buyer wants to make a new offer. It's just about practice, everyone. So I'm going to open the rooms. You're going to practice that script for 5 minutes. Does anybody have any questions about what we're doing? All right, I'm opening rooms. Go to it, have fun. Nina, you're probably in a room somewhere.
I think it says join whatever. You want me to bounce in and out?
Sure. Oh, it didn't give you a room to join?
No.
I don't know why that didn't happen.
I think because we're both co-hosts.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Huh.
Maybe.
I'll see where it goes.
I'll bounce into a couple. How's that?
That'd be great. I'm gonna make sure everybody has people in their room.
2, 3. It's kind of hard when they're all from different states.
I know. It's okay. It's just a
It's an overview, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, how about Tyler has nobody in his room?
I'm
nor
moving,
does-
I'm moving
Okay.
people around.
Hi, I had to take a phone call quickly, so I don't know what we're doing at this point.
We're just doing some script practice.
Sorry about that. I was in the restroom.
That's okay. Tyler,
Yes.
you want me to join you in your room?
Sure.
All right. We're gonna join room 14.
So just join. Just press join.
Yep, just press
Okay.
join. Welcome back. Everyone's coming. How'd it go?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Really well. Jason rocked it.
Awesome. Any ahas from this?
I would say yes. You know, it was very real world. I've experienced it before as a buyer's agent, but not in today's market. I was an agent a long time ago and came back, so this whole new world. So yeah, definitely different.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, even especially in this market, when a buyer wants to make a low offer, that's a real candid conversation you're having with them. Right? Some fierce. So nobody's ever read Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. I would write that down. Listen to that in your Audible, read it. But it's a great, it helps you build better relationships with not only your clients, but with everybody you know. Thank you guys for playing all in. Melissa, were you going to ask a question?
Yeah, I was just going to jot that down. Is it Fierce Conversations? Is that what you said?
Yep. Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So that was great. I love practicing. I love watching you guys jump in and get to know each other and practice. So thank you to all of you who are playing full on. You know what that means?
We're learning.
We're learning. And just remember, how you participate in here is how you participate out there, right? So anybody's taken bold, you probably heard that before. And if you haven't taken bold, I hope that you guys are signing up. I know there's one coming in June in the region, and I know we're going to be doing one in October. So definitely get signed up for that. That is like Ignite on steroids. I know it's hard to imagine that, but it is true. All right. We're going to continue on. First things first, though, what I want you to do is this. So you guys ready? I'm not even going to share my screen. All right, stand up. You see lots of bellies. Stand up. All right, and put your hands in front. Clap 3 times. Clap up top. Wiggle your fingers. Shake your hips. And then sit on down. You needed that stretch, right, to get moving. So you guys can't just sit still. That is not my thing. Maybe a little ADD related to that, but that's okay, right? We get it all done. So now we're going to present the offer. You've worked so hard. You've showed houses. You've prepared. You wrote the offer. But writing the offer is just one piece. And just as a side note, as you write the offer, make sure if you're a new agent, and every market center has a different rule about this, but you should have your productivity coach, your mentor, your team leader, an ALC member reviewing your first few offers. In my market center, no offer goes out till I look at it as the productivity coach, but that's my market center. So every market center is different. Find out before you're writing an offer, who's your person? Who's going to help review it for you, right? Because you're not writing it just for you. In fact, it's not for you at all. Who's it about?
Your client.
The client, that's right. So you want to make sure that you're doing the best job you can. So second pair of eyes, really important. So the presentation is actually just as important. You need to notify the listing agent of an incoming offer. That sounds so basic, doesn't it? But guess what? In this virtual internet age, I've had agents, all of a sudden in my inbox is an offer from a buyer agent. I was like, I didn't even know they showed it. Did you show it? And they're like, oh, no, we sent them to the open house. Okay, that's fine. I don't care about that part. But you didn't tell me you were getting it. What if they sent it and I never got it? Right? So you need to notify them it's coming. When you send that, you want to make sure you ask for confirming receipt of the offer. Because if I email someone an offer, I call them, hey, I'm sending an offer over. we become best friends like I did with Adrian. And then I'm emailing the offer over, asking for confirmation. If they don't email me back, I'm calling them or texting them. Did you get my offer? Just checking. Because I want to make sure they got it. This is why you don't send it 5 minutes before the deadline. Just telling you. You have to set a deadline. That's clearly in the offer. There will be a deadline for a response. You can create an offer in command like Nina did. And I always consult with the buyer when I send it. Offer send, fingers crossed. Like that's my personality, right? Keeping them informed of what's happening. Because they sign it and then you're doing all this stuff. They have no idea. They're just sitting there like this. So you need to make sure you're communicating with the buyer. And then obviously consult with your buyer when the seller responds. That's kind of common sense. All of this is common sense. Are you finding that? Right? Just methodical steps. Right. All right. So next is presenting the offer. So I need someone to be my seller agent. I'm the buyer agent. I'm going to be talking to you about the offer I'm sending. Who can be the seller agent for me? Nina, do you want to play with me today? Thank you, Nina. All right. So ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, Nina. It's Lorna Helms from Keller Williams. How are you?
Lorna, I'm great. How are you?
I am great. Hey, I'm going to be sending you over an offer, and I just wanted to give you a few details about the buyer. I know we've already spoke a little bit about it, but a little bit about the offer and what you can expect. Would that be 5 minutes?
Oh, thank you so much. You wouldn't even believe. I'm like knee deep in offers. What you got for me?
All right. So we are offering $400,000, which, as you know, is 10% over asking. We are doing a home inspection within 3 days. We've already got it scheduled for tomorrow.
Oh, wow. All right.
Awesome. They are pre-approved, gone through underwriting and putting down 20%.
Okay.
And we know it's a crazy market. So if for some reason the appraisal doesn't come in at full value, we're willing to make up the gap up to $5,000.
Okay.
We have nothing to sell.
All right.
And she is just an adorable teacher for kindergartners and so excited about this.
Oh, that's fantastic.
No, isn't that nice?
It is nice.
Yeah, we noticed that they had a few little kindergartner pictures around their house in the room. So hopefully they know how much kindergarten teachers make a difference.
Yes, they do. Good. So we like that. So my sellers are still looking for their new forever home. So would they be okay if maybe they needed a little extra time to find something? We are currently looking, but are they willing to give like maybe a 30-day extension if necessary?
Absolutely. Yep. We know the interest rates aren't crawling up anytime too soon. So we feel pretty confident we can wait it out an extra 30 days if needed.
All right, great. I think other than that, that looks really great. I will look these over and we'll have an answer for you tomorrow by 5.
Awesome. All right. And if you can just email me back once you get it, that would be great. Is this the right email, ninarowan@kw.com?
Yep, that's perfect.
Awesome. Thanks, Nina.
Thanks, Lorna.
Bye.
Bye.
So now I have another new best friend, Nina.
Yes.
And
see,
usually,
I always take notes. I know this is just play, but I still take the notes because in a real situation, I don't want to forget that I spoke to that person.
Yep.
Oh, all right. Oh, talk to Lorna. This is what she told me. I got to respond to her email. So when I'm reviewing offers and I have them with I have my notebook. I have the ones that I've printed out. And if I look and I'm like, oh, didn't get Lorna's yet, I'm going to go through my email and find it because I just had that conversation with her. So little things to help because you get overwhelmed.
Yeah. And I love that I always end, and I didn't end it this time with, I look forward to working together.
I do the same thing.
Or I feel like we could work really well together. And all my emails say that as well. Like, look forward to
Yes.
working together. Look forward to hearing from you. Everything's upbeat, positive, connecting.
And it's so funny because I actually had an ALC member debating with herself whether or not she should say, I look forward to working with you in an email, because she thought it presumptuous. Well, yes, I want to be presumptuous. I'm thinking that I'm writing the absolute best offer that you're ever going to get. Because I've done my due diligence. I know my buyers are great, and I'm boasting that my buyers are great. So if you already have that, and just show that confidence through the email, it's really okay. I don't think I've ever received an offer or even sent an offer where they were like, ew, you are so presumptuous. Never. They were always like, oh, thank you so much. That was such great information. And it's always been great. So
love it.
Just do it.
Just do it. All right. Any questions about presenting? All right. We are going to move on. So we've been having our buyer hat on. We're going to switch it over to representing the seller. Woohoo, we got an offer, right? And I know in this day, right now, everyone's like, yeah, of course you got an offer. Well, first of all, it doesn't always happen, just so you know. But in real world, like when Lorna got her license in 1993, I had my first listing in 94. So I got my first listing in 94. Months. It was not a seller's market. It was a painful market. So it doesn't always happen as quick as you would think. So first things first, we're going to receive the offer. We're going to gather information, right? So in a conversation with Nina, Nina could ask me questions, right? She gathered information. I mean, me as a buyer agent throwing up the information to her, but she also was asking questions that I didn't cover about their flexibility. Then we present the offer to your client. It is your fiduciary responsibility to present every offer. We don't make the decision for the seller. We present every offer. And then we have to help the seller respond. And we need to respond to all offers. Just as a side note, in this crazy time, please, please, please. Now, we had an agent in our office. He had 71 offers. So there was a blanket email to everyone who didn't get it saying, I'm so sorry to do this in an email, but I have 71 offers. I'm so sorry your client didn't get it. You know, we obviously had a lot to go through, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'll keep it in mind. But so making sure that you are responding, because has anybody ever been on the other side where somebody didn't tell you what was going on? It doesn't even have to be in real estate. How did it feel?
Not great.
Not great, right? And not only for you, but what about your poor client, the poor buyer on the other side, waiting with bated breath? So it's really important to make sure that you guys are, you know, responding to everybody as a listing agent. All right, so let's talk about checklists. We have another checklist, my friends. It is on page, does it have it on? I thought it had it on there. Nope, you don't have this checklist. Actually, yes, you do. On page 10. Receive and review offer. All right, so let's just look at the screen for a second. Address. I know this is crazy, but you actually do want to make sure they have the correct address. So especially in this market, a lot of agents are kind of just cutting and pasting from an old offer. I have received it with the wrong offer, like the wrong address for the property. Oof, as a buyer agent, don't do that. But as a listing agent, make sure it's correct. You are going to look at this before you send. Do not just forward to your seller, right? You want to review everything. Is the address correct? Is the price correct, right? Is there a price on there? So sometimes, like in our Massachusetts forms, you write the offer price in Greater Boston forms, and then you put all the deposits, and then you put the price again. Sometimes they're not the same. So you have to make sure, is everything the same? Is the earnest money there? And do you think it's going to be acceptable to the seller? Right? So sometimes it's looking at it and saying, ooh, that's only, 1% down total. And then maybe you're going back to the buyer agent asking the question, do you think your buyer could put more down? Could you tell me about the deposit? Right? Because again, for like VA loans, it can be zero money down, right? So you need to understand what that is about. Time for acceptance. When's the date? Again, if they're not looking at it till Tuesday at 5 and I have today at 2, I may need to, as a listing agent, I may need to call the buyer agent back and say, will your buyers extend till whatever, till Tuesday at 5 or Wednesday at, whenever it is. Looking at making sure the pre-approval letter. So every listing agent does this different. I will typically, with permission, have a conversation with the mortgage person. Right now, again, if you have 21 offers, it might take a little more time, but you do want to find out if it's a more, where are they in the mortgage process? Do these dates make sense? Can this be done? Right? So you want to check in with that. They can't give you any personal, obviously, information, but are they a solid buyer? Where, you really need to dig deep because not every pre-approval letter is the same, my friends. Just because it says pre-approval does not mean it's a real pre-approval. So you need to dig in deep. We talked about dates, financing term, closing date, make sure it's going to work. So all of those things, because if you have that offer and they have a closing date in, let's say it's a cash offer even, closing dates in 3 weeks. Does that actually work for your seller? It might if they've already moved out, but it probably doesn't, especially if they haven't found anything. So again, you want to ask questions about the offer prior to presenting it if it doesn't all make sense. Right? And then the other thing is, a lot of times the sellers are curious about, the person. But I want you to look on page 10, because this goes back to facts versus people. You want to gather information. How long has the buyer been looking? Why does that matter as a listing agent? Why do I care how long they've been looking? All right, this is the interactive part, you guys. And don't make Nina answer. You guys have to answer. Give me if you don't know, guess.
How desperate they are to get into the house.
I love how you put that. How desperate are they to get this house? As a listing agent, I want to know, is this the first offer they've written? Because they might not get the market right now. But by offer 10 or offer 4, they're going to do anything, right? That I love that. I just love how you said that. Have they be pre-approved? You obviously have the letter. Do they have a house to sell? So let's just be clear here. That is a golden question. Nina, why is that question so golden?
Because I need to know this is a chain and domino effect. So as a listing agent, I need to know how secure is that deal on the other side. Are you at PNS? Did you just put it on the market? Or are you still waiting to put it on the market? Are you just waiting for a good close date? I don't know. So I'm going to ask those questions.
But Nina, it doesn't say anything on the offer about a house to sell. So they probably don't have one then. Do I need
Well,
to?
then that pre-approval better not say it's contingent on their home selling.
And
that pre-approval better not say it.
And a lot of times agents say, well, that's covered under the mortgage. If they don't sell their house, then they can't buy. I was like,
no, it is not.
Do not assume, my friends. Why are they moving to this area? I don't necessarily ask that, but what did they like? Why did they select this particular property? I love that question. Gives a little connection. Again, the sellers especially, there's going to be all the data, and then there's got to be something that speaks to them. I've had so many sellers say, it just feels right. They don't even know why, right? So emotion makes them act. If it's a question about the offer price, you could ask, again, in this market, not so much, but how did they come up with the offer price? And have they made offers on other properties? Which is kind of goes back to how long have they been looking? Right? Any questions about that list and why those questions are important as a listing agent? All right. We're going to keep moving on then, my friends. So you're presenting the offer. Again, we have our seller hat on. So you've received the offer. Can you guys see that? I had to move you. Notify the seller as soon as possible, right? Even if I know that we're not going to respond till Tuesday, I want to have we got an offer. Yay, we got an offer. We want to get them excited. Does this actually all work yet? Use command to communicate the offer in the KW app?
Yeah, you know how I was showing you all of that information?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, the app can just say, the app will just say that you're communicating, but everything that I said, would you enter like those 6 offers that you received?
Yeah.
All of that information can get emailed to them. And then you can sit down together with each offer broken down and with the pros, cons, and summary of.
Okay. So, but it shows up in the app. I did not know that. See, I learned something new today. Update the CMA. Again, in this market, you probably don't really need to do this because you've already done the CMA and the market, is spoken. If it goes back to a regular market where you have one offer and maybe it's not full price, we're going to pretend we're in another.
Oh my God.
I know.
What a nightmare.
Then we might need to update a CMA so we can say, I know when we put it on the market 3 months ago, this was a fair price. But as you can see, it's our first offer, and looking at what's sold, we need to think about a different offer. Okay, present the offer. Now I am painful, my poor sellers, especially if I haven't sent it to them and I'm just discussing it before I send it, or if we're talking, I say, let's first talk about closing date. Let's talk about contingencies. Let's talk about, repairs is not usually in an offer, so scratch that. And then I tell them the price. Why do I do that? Why do I tell them price last?
Because you try to give them everything that will affect the price so they can understand before they hear the last number.
Yes. So, and that is basically it, is I want them to understand, like, look at the good parts, right? They have a great closing date. They have this, they have that. And then I talk about price, and here's the number, because even if it's higher, so if I have the house on for 400 and it's a 420 offer, they're like, yay, 420 offer. That's the one we want. Okay, wait. They can't close until, blah, 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 or they have inspection contingencies, or so price, that's all they hear once you say price. So if you start with all the details and then come in strong with, and this is the price, or, okay, so this is the price and let's talk about it, right? Like, we like all these other things. So what can we do to work with that price? Does that make sense? Right? And then you help them with that they have 3 choices. You can accept, you can reject, and you can counter. Right? I actually say reject last. I say counter. Usually I'm gonna buck KW here. I say we can accept it, we can counter offer it, or we can reject it. I always start with accept. Even if I know that there is no way they're accepting this offer, I start with that. Now we're talking if there's one offer, right? Can I stop share for a minute? In the chat, I did pull out that multiple offer sheet. So I'm going to share my screen for a second. And we're going to because I'm going to share with you how I do it when it's multiple offers too. All right. So again, offer 1, offer 2, right? Dates and deadlines. So typically, and I have never used this because I just got it and I love it, but I start with dates, right? So I come down here. We have this all filled out. And what I do with mine, because my spreadsheet was not as clean as this, but then I would take this one and I would turn it a different color, like green. Like if we look at all of these and the dates don't work, right? Or the down payments don't work. I look at all the details. So if I have, like, let's see, how many offers are on here? 5. I have 5 offers. And offer 1 and 3 don't have something specific that works. Maybe it's the house is on for 400 and they are at 380. Let's just pretend that somebody actually wrote that offer. I'm going to wipe the, like, we're not even going to look at those. Let's go to the other 3. Does that make sense? So on the spreadsheet, a lot of times I'm looking at kind of the big stuff, and sometimes it's price. It might be, but most likely it's I start again. What are their down payments? What is this? What is that? And right away, you have to start narrowing down somewhere. Do you agree with that statement? Because we can't accept all 5. That'd be kind of funny, but we can't. So we want to just narrow down. So using this spreadsheet to really help you narrow down. And again, I use colors and all sorts of things to make sure that we can narrow it down. It's just like when you're showing buyers a house, right? You have to narrow down somehow, right? So
Do you mind if I interrupt real quick?
Yeah, of course you can.
So how did you actually convert all of that information into the spreadsheets?
By hand. By hand.
Jesus.
Each offer.
Okay. All right.
It's okay. You say, oh, geez. But if you look at so in Massachusetts, right? What you would do is just go through what offers you have and highlight those main key points, right?
Okay.
If you did that on all your offer forms, now you're coming to your spreadsheet and now you're going to input just what you see there. And if you do it in a methodical way and you do it the same way every single time, it's not going to be as daunting.
And I would do it as you receive each offer. So I don't wait to get 11 at one time and do it. I would get one, put it in the spreadsheet.
Yes, set it aside. There's offer number 1.
Right, and that way.
So you're not getting your ahead of time.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
That
Don't wait till the last second to do all that work, because then you're not going to be cool, calm, and collected to present to your seller. Because you want to come to your seller saying, we have 4 offers. Here's everything. Now, let's make a decision.
Let's go through it.
Let's do it. You want to have all your ducks in a row in your head because you already know what the best offer is. But even though we know what the best offer is to take, we have to allow our sellers to make that decision. We can guide them and direct them, but ultimately it's their decision.
We have to review key points and things that they're not thinking about. So when you're laying it all down, so like for my 11 offers, again, we started just with, okay, closing dates and money down. And so we went to, and I know this is terrible for the poor first-time home buyers, but they literally said 20%. That's like, we had 5 of them with 20%. Right? I mean,
it is what it is.
It is what it is, my friends. We're the logical, factual, data-driven people that we need to be. And that is not my thing, but I am when it comes to this. So really that spreadsheet, but being prepared, being organized. So I give you all a challenge, right? Work with your script partner, have them present you with like 2 offers, and then pull out the key points and fill it in. Just practice filling it in, right? Because then you'll know what to do. It really is, it sounds overwhelming, but when you do it step by step, like Nina said, the same way every time, you're going to get through it. I promise.
Yes. Honestly, it took me, so I was on a team when I first got into real estate. I was so nervous writing my first offer. It took me 4 hours to write my first offer. 4 hours. I was so nervous about the money. And I'm like, what I put on here, this is a contract. I couldn't like shake that. And now I look at it and I go, it takes me less than 5 minutes to write an offer now. I'm like, why was I ever so scared?
Because it's practice. Everything you do is practice. But that is why you have so much support at KW, my friends. So utilize that support to make sure that You don't have to spend 4 hours.
No, don't spend 4 hours.
Don't spend 4 hours. If you're in my program, call me. If you're in Nina's office, call her.
Yes.
Find your person. All right. So how do we respond as the listing agent, right? Reaching that decision, counter offering, keeps the negotiation going. In this market, this is just so you know, as a buyer agent, most likely you're going to, so sensitive. You're going to either get an accepted offer or they're going to reject your offer. Those are your two choices. You're not getting a lot of counter offering in this
Right
market.
now. Yeah.
Not, but it keeps the negotiation going if that's it. You get the seller can accept it and or again reject it. We talked about this already, right? So responding to the offer. So on page 15, let's go to that. Actually, it's 13. It says 15 in my facilitator guide, but it's 13 in your participant guide. So responding to offers. There's a few scenarios. One is presenting the initial offer to your seller, presenting a low offer to your seller. Ugh, that is the worst. The worst. I'm just going to tell you, you will not like that feeling. Yet, you still have to deal with it. Again, fierce conversations. Don't forget to read it. Recommend that your client accept an offer. Recommend that your client make a counter offer. So, I want you to go to page 14 where it says, recommend that your client make a counter offer. And then just give me the old reaction button on the bottom. I need to see let's see, a thumbs up. Give me a little thumbs up like that. When you have found page 14. Uh-oh, I only got one. Oh, I got a second one. Woo, woo, woo. Everyone else got it? All right, I see some pretend. Yep. All right, you guys are doing it. Yay. All right, so I'm going to break you up again. Woohoo! Breakout rooms. This is one of Lorna's favorite things to teach. We're going to recreate the rooms. Recreate. And I'm going to open all the rooms. You are going to practice the script. Recommend that your client make a counteroffer. One of you is going to be the seller. One of you is going to be the agent, right? Make sure you're taking pause to let your sellers respond.
Should we give them like the scenario? Like,
Yep.
Can we make one up?
Sure.
All right. Or do you guys just want to make up your own scenario? Crickets.
I think it would be better if we made up our own scenarios.
Okay.
Because,
so?
yeah,
All right.
it'd be more personal, I feel like.
Right. All right, guys, this is working off the cuff improv. This is what it's all about. Did I already hit open rooms? I didn't. And why are we losing people on breakout rooms? I totally.
They're so scared. I don't know why. This is
All
the
right.
fun part.
This is the fun part. You don't have to listen to my voice anymore. You get to go practice. All right, I'm opening the rooms. Jump in, my friends.
We have some people that only one people in each room.
Yep, I'm moving them.
Oh, okay.
You know why? I think because I had more rooms because there were supposedly more people. And then they all started jumping off. All right, let's see. Amy, we're going to move her to room 4. And we're going to move Pam to room 2. And Drew to room 2. All right, anybody alone now?
Adrian and Samantha.
What room is Samantha in?
They're in 11. Well, it's Adrian and they're the two.
They're together. Yeah. All right, we're going to move them into 8. All right.
What about Rose?
She didn't join.
I love breakout room.
I do too. All right, so everyone's got a partner at least in there. We'll just give them a couple. Thank you for your help today.
Oh, you're very welcome. I hope I like to be. I don't know. I like it. It's helpful. It's fun. And it's good for me.
Yep. You always learn something.
Yeah.
I feel like I did today, you always just, and it's fun that we're from different states because we get a little bit of that. So let's get into like 11:42:3.
I'm gonna pop in. I'm gonna pop in and out of rooms.
Yeah, we're good. Can't hear
Do you ever jump on the growth call that happens on every Monday with like
The 2 o'clock?
KWRI?
I am on the 12 and I'm on the 2.
Oh, all right. Yeah, because I can't wait. I love it. The 12 o'clock one.
I do too. So I eat my lunch. It's the only day I actually eat lunch, because I'm sitting in front of the computer. Hi.
I see smiles. Was that fun? Look at.
Oh, quick.
It was quick.
It was a quick one. This one was a quick one. Just wanted you to kind of like think about it, start practicing what would it look like. I mean, it's a very different market right now. So those are scripts that even though right now you think, I'm never going to need this, you do. You will. And do you think that every seller lists their house for the price you recommend?
No.
No. And so sometimes they get offers that aren't full price, even in this market. So it's important to have these conversations. So I don't know if we still have people in breakout rooms.
I think we just lost people.
Wow, I'm feeling sad today.
Me too.
Yeah, it's a bummer. All right, so tell me what you learned today about making and receiving offers. Everyone needs to unmute.
The cover letter, like presenting the cover letter. I know I'm new, so when I did make my first couple of offers, I didn't have that cover letter. So I do feel that, that was a nice tool to sharpen.
Awesome. Yes. And I did
Following up afterwards, I will say I made an offer like last week that didn't get accepted. I talked with the agent a lot like up to that point. But once our offer got rejected and they said they weren't taking a backup offer, I didn't really reach back out. And I kind of wish I did just to know where we were missing.
Yeah, and you know that I know that a lot of the listing agents are super busy, but most, if they don't respond by phone, will at least respond by email. Like, I know you're busy, but if you just have a moment, so we can make sure that we get the next one, can you tell me what we could have done better? And sometimes it's, you actually did everything perfect. We just had to pick somebody. But sometimes it will give you some key piece of information that you can use for the next one. So that's a great aha. Give me one more, my friends.
The multiple listing spreadsheet, even though it might seem tedious, it seems like a really good way to organize, especially like you said in the market now. Because trying to keep looking at each sheet and compare them all would be, I think, more difficult than putting it into a system.
Exactly. And so just so you all know, you notice that none of those were mine. I'm in Facebook groups, I'm in paying attention at my office, hearing what other agents are doing, and everybody at KW wants to share, right? So really making sure that if you have morning huddles at your office once Ignite's over, and any chance you have to be with other agents and learn, you should be there, because you're gonna get, like I just gave you all that stuff, now you're gonna make it your own, right? So we all learn and grow and borrow from each other. I mean, I had a spreadsheet, but it was not nice like that. Mine was not a pretty one. So now I have something else. Oh, I put the Facebook in the chat. Sorry, the cover letter in the chat. Do you want me to re-put it in there? Let's see. All right, you guys get that out of there. All right, so who's ready to make and receive offers?
I am.
Right? So what I want you to do right now is pick up your phone. Pick up your phone. Everybody, I know you all got phones with you. All right. I want you to scroll down to someone in your sphere of influence. Find somebody. Tell me when you've identified somebody. Okay. Next is going to be, you're going to hit, if you're not muted, hit mute. I want you to call that person, use the Ford script. Hey, how are you? How's your family? Are you going away for Memorial Day weekend? Oh, I know, I'm so excited to get away for Memorial Day weekend. Or, oh, we're staycation, blah, blah, blah. Awesome. Hey, how's work? Are you guys back in the office? And guess what they're going to ask you? How's work for you? I have a new job. Woohoo. And if you've been doing this for a while, still selling real estate, crazy market, and then wrap it up. Do not leave me. Do you want to see a grown woman cry today? No, you don't. I got only, let's see, 23 of you left. Stay on, picture on, mute yourself, make one phone call, and then I want you to put in the chat, who did you talk to? How'd it go? Ready? You have 5 minutes, one connection. One more minute, everybody. Make sure you put it in the chat. I only see one person. I love that everybody's still talking.
Making calls is the worst thing in the world, though. I'm not gonna lie to you, Lorna. Like, that has been my crutch since I joined real estate.
All right, left messages. You know, I agree that can be challenging. And you know what I saw? Smiles. Saw lots of smiles. People were talking to their friends.
That one? Is that okay?
Huh?
Sorry. I have my MCA is here.
I've interrupted her.
Oh, that's okay.
It's my MCA, Donna.
Going, I should be in this class right now, but
next time.
Yeah. No, well, she's writing an offer.
I'm
and
writing an
she's-
offer right now as we speak. So I was like, oh my God.
That's awesome. Good luck.
Thanks. This market, who knows?
Got to keep trying, right?
I
What does
know.
Dory say? Got to keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
Yep, exactly.
All right, you guys. So as we wrap it up, I want you to tell me, how did that go? I saw a couple of people posting things. I saw lots of smiles, which I loved. Right?
Yeah, I contacted a friend of mine who happens to be an insurance agent, and he deals with homeowners insurance. So we set up a lunch for Friday. We haven't spoken in many, many years. He's into music, I'm into music, so we have a lot of things in common. So, but you know, I said, hey man, I'm looking forward to catching up with you, talking about life, music, and most of all business, you know, see what we can do.
Awesome referral partners.
That's right. Yeah, and that's it, right? I love that. So where does it get really hard to make phone calls? Where does it all live? We talked about this on day one. Right here, right? And that's why I want you to stay on. You saw everyone smiling and like people were talking to people, right? You got to talk to people no matter what. This is a people talking business. And you know, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but I am not the person who walks into a room and starts talking to everybody. I really don't. I like sit back, I absorb. I'm a high S. So I like kind of check what people are doing and then I find my groove. Once I get going though, look out. And if I don't know everybody. If I know everybody, forget it. I'm right in there. But you just got to talk to people. So I wish you all success. This is my last Ignite with you guys. I'll try to hop on your last day and wish you all well. If you ever have any questions about anything, you're welcome to email me, lornahelms@kw.com, and reach out, phone call, anything. I'm happy to answer any questions. It's an awesome profession. You guys just keep plugging away. You will get there. Just don't give up. It's always at that point where you're like, oh, I'm so tired. I have not gotten an offer accepted. And bam, the next one gets accepted. Come from contribution all the time. Build relationships like Jason just did, right? Like reach out. Doesn't matter you haven't talked for years. What's that common ground? Business to business. Start there. Right? But you just got to keep building relationships and getting out there.
Pam's still going. I love it. Yay, Pam.
So 2 things. One, if you guys have a moment to go to kwueval.com. It looks like this, kwueval.com, and fill out an evaluation. You can do it on your phone or you can do it on your computer. This is a regional event, just showing you. I won't tell you what to fill out. Hope you give me a lot of good stars. But
rock star.
We are, thank you. We are an Ignite session.
2.0 session 7.
I think we're session 7. Just say section. We're going to all agree it's session 7. So you can all put the same thing. My name is in the drop-down menu. Yay! So excited that my name's in the drop-down menu now. So you will find Lorna Helms in there. And then you just rate. It only takes a few minutes to go through. I would appreciate it as I continue to build up my training resume. And I'm also going to stay on for another 10 minutes. Nina, you can head off so you can get to that growth call. I'll jump in when I'm done. But if you need to stay on, ask me any specific questions. You're welcome to do that. I'm going to shut the recording off and we can just answer questions. If not, hop off and have a great day.
Thank you so much.